Alright, this is going to be a tutorial video for Quantum's GPU particles. So it's going to go cover the desktop and VR two-handed setup, and then I will go into some of the details with the different properties and what you can adjust. So we'll start with VR. All you have to do is drop the prefab right into the scene, right into the hierarchy here. Make sure to drop it into this and not directly onto the model or the scaling will be messed up. So from there, you take the particle, drop it onto the model here. It'll tell you it's going to break the prefab. That's okay. And then next you want to navigate on your model to the two hands, or wrists as they're usually called, and then drop camera 1 and 2 onto those. Doesn't matter which one goes on which, just make sure they're both in there. So next you want to position the cameras in the right spots. So this is going to be left hand, and then camera 2 is for right hand. Alright, so next I will go over the meshes. I believe the new version already contains all 4 mesh types here. However, it does not contain the reset textures as far as I'm aware. So to generate your own, you're going to go to Game Object here, go to Particle Mesh, and it'll show you the different options here. 131 is where it's recommended to be at. 524 is a little more intensive, and 2 million is where it gets a little crazy, especially if people don't have really good computers that you're messing with. But we will do the 524 just to show that it can be done. So all you're gonna do is click here, and it'll generate it right there for you. You go back, and this time go to Reset Texture, and also do the 524K. So what you're going to want to do is select the particles right here, and then right here it says that the current mesh is the 131K mesh. You're going to want to just drag and drop the 524K. And by the way, whenever you generate these, it'll just go into the resource folder, so that's fine. The reset texture as well, this is the 524K one, so go to your reset material, enable pre-generated data, and then drop that texture right there. And that's all the setup for changing the size, aside from the text data here. So these resolutions are set up for the default 131K, which is 512 by 512. There's a grid that is posted in the FAQ of all the different values to use at what sizes, but 1024 for 500 or for 524K. If you're doing the 2 million, it's going to be 2048. So you want to make sure you hit enter so it squares it. So you need to change both of these based on what your size is. Okay? So next we'll go over the animations, and I'll just be remaking them. I already did it once, just to make sure, so I'm going to delete these extras. Okay, so you simply just want to make a duplicate of your model. We also don't need this anymore. And then go into the animation window for it. So we're just going to start by remaking the activate. So all you have to do here is hit record, open the model up, select particles, enable that, navigate down to the hands that you have the cameras bound to, and then activate the 2 cameras, and then activate the 2 camera components on the cameras. You can just control click both cameras like this to select them both if you don't want to do it one by one. So after that, select these keyframes here, Control C to copy them, zoom in and find the 0.01 here, and Control V to paste. Because you need 2 keyframes for your gesture overrides and they have to be the same. Alright, so next we will do the reset. Alright, so for this one, all you're going to do is navigate down to your simulator planes, which are just underneath the cameras. Hit record. Go back to your resource folder. And then you're going to want to replace the current material here with the reset one. So you can just drag it right onto there. Make sure you're recording or else it'll actually change them. You'll have to go back and undo it. Once again, copy, and then at the 0.01 mark here, paste. So next we'll do the push. Once again, this happens on the simulator planes as well. You can do it one by one if you want different values, or you can control click both. Well, actually, no, you can't because they are using different materials. So it doesn't matter how low you set it. Higher attraction or lower attraction in this case will just make it faster. But it needs to be negative to push. So you gotta change both of these to negative 0.01. At least that's the default that's used in the normal animations. And then next we will do the pause. So for the pause, you just want to take both of these, record, and then just turn them off. So again, copy them, zoom in, go to 1, paste. All right, so that's all four of the animations remade. And then if you don't know how to set up your own overrides, you can find it in the VR SDK. Otherwise, just go ahead and replace some of them in here. I don't have the SDK loaded here, so you're not going to see this. But when you select it, it'll show a list of animations and the different gestures, and you can plug it in where you want it. So next we will go over the desktop setup. I don't actually know why. Well, I'll just delete that one now. Okay, so for desktop, you're just going to drag the desktop prefab in there and then drop it on the model. So from here, it already has the rigid body and fixed joint setup for you. You just need to go to the head, then add a rigid body to this. From here, you want to set angular drag to 0, and then open up the constraints, check all these. All right, so that's the entirety of the setup. Well, go to this, and then select the head's rigid body to tie it to the head. And that is all of the setup you need for the desktop version, except redoing the animations. So it follows a very similar path as the VR one. It's just stuff's placed slightly different, so that changes. All right, it'll be the same as well for changing the amount here. So if you want to do the 512K mesh or 524K mesh, just replace it right here instead on the desktop one. All right. So the two simulators here are for VR, and these ones are for desktop. The reset one's the same for both, and the text data is the same for both. All right, so with your duplicate model, to redo the animations again, you're going to click on this, Control-6 to open the animation window. And then we don't need these ones anymore, but we're just going to remake the normal ones, so I'm just going to replace that for now. So once again, hit record, go here, turn that on, and then in these two cameras, turn on the camera components. And that's it for the activate animation. For the reset, once again, record, navigate over to the resources. For these two simulators, simply replace the material with the reset. So drop the reset onto both of these. Make sure you're recording so it doesn't like actually overwrite it. Copy, then paste on this on the very next keyframe. So the 0.01. Set up the push. Select the simulators, make sure you're recording. Just change these once again to negative 0.01 or whatever value you want them to be. Make sure to copy those into the second keyframe. And then depause. Hit record here. Go down, select the two simulators, just turn them off. And that is the entire setup for desktop, as well as plugging them into the actual overrides to where you need them to be. All right, so that is all for setup. So I will go over some of the different settings you can mess with and rough ideas of what they change and what they look like. All right, so this part of the video is going to start with the particles already active, so I can show some of the effects as we change them. So by default, you're going to get something similar to this, where it creates sort of a stringy look as they get farther apart. And it's also going to be solid blue. So under the particles here, this is where you can change the coloring mode. So glow just gives them a bit of a white glow. This can cause a little bit of issues on maps with really high bloom, but it's usually not too bad. Particle size affects the base particle size. You can't really tell too much here, but once I start moving these around, you'll see the particles are a lot bigger now by default. The particles do scale as they get closer to the screen. So if I back up, the particles get more solid, and as you get closer, the particles get smaller to stop from getting too crowded. It's hard to see. It's a lot easier to see in-game. All right, switch this back down. So it starts by default in static. You can just change the color to what you want it to be. However, there are different coloring modes. So pulse will pulse between two colors. Something cool you can do with this is if one of these colors has low alpha, it'll simply fade in and out like that. You can set it up. You can change the speed to make it pulse quicker. So you can get some cool effects with this. Some of that back. There we go. All right. The next coloring mode is changing. It just changes between the colors. You can select 3 colors to use. It'll just change between them. Similar to Pulse, it just supports 3 colors instead of going back and forth between 2. Direction, you select multiple colors again, and these will actually change color based on the direction that the material is moving. So it's based on the axis, so when it goes this way, it's blue. Back and forth, it's red, or more red, and then up and down, it does the green. Then you have velocity. So as the particles move and speed up, they will change between the colors you set. The last one is texture, where you can input a texture here. So by default, it'll be white. However, you can select, I don't have much on this project since it's just for showing this off, but it'll basically sample the texture you put in and use that to show the colors. So in this case, it's just kind of all yellow, since I believe the black just doesn't show up, although I believe it might if we turn glow off. Yep, so there you go. Now you get a little bit of the black showing up as well. Okay, so now the actual simulator planes. So if you change these, the attraction changes how strong it attracts. So you can see as I'm doing this, it creates an interesting effect. If one of these simulator planes is higher than the other in terms of attraction value, well, let me just do this, then obviously it'll pull harder, so you can just steal from the other one. Turning it negative, of course, will repel it. Max attraction just sets the top value for the attraction. So you can do some cool effects with that. If you mess with it, animate it. And then speed just controls how much the particles move before they slow down. So you can see right now, whoops. I don't know why it's freaking out there. Turn this down a little bit. And this is a good way to test the reset as well. If you ever need to reset, you can just drop this onto the planes. And put these back in, and it will just reset. Okay, it's because I'm moving the simulator. You gotta move the entire camera. That makes sense. So this will control how much speed the particle carries over once it's out of the field of the attraction. You'll notice it more in game when you're moving a lot faster relative. And you can also turn on noise here. So noise will add some basically random movement to the particles, and this will stop them from grouping up as much and forming like the stringy bits. So when it's like this, it'll like kind of act how it did before, where it stays in sort of like a cloudy look as opposed to condensing. The amount of noise will of course change how much moves around. Once again, it's another effect that's a little more visible in game, but you can see here that the noise is stronger than the attraction out here. So it's causing it to sort of move a bit weird here, as well as end up over here. So that's messing with attraction. I know that he is currently working on other reset textures, which should be in a future version, as well as toggle props. He's working with someone on getting those implemented, so you can turn it on and leave it on. Currently, the only reset texture that is supported is, well, not supported, but you can put anything in here, but the only one that it comes with is just the default circle here. But in the future, he will be trying to release a script that'll allow you to generate different shapes and just different designs in general for the texture. So that'll be coming in a future version as well as the toggle props. So I'd say keep your eye out for that. Any other questions can be posted in the Discord. This is my Discord right here. I don't know if you can see that down there, but I'm Bender, number 5031, so you can add that if you have any questions, as well as just posting in the questions channel. All right, so that should be the tutorial on this. If I missed anything, like I said, you can always just message me and ask. Otherwise, have a very nice day.